Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for us to get started on the Rural Pitch Day. Thank you very much for attending again this year. This is our second annual Rural Pitch Day. Let's begin by thanking our sponsors. They are Nevada Gold Mines, Northern Nevada Economic Development Authority, NV Energy, Northeast Nevada Regional Development Authority, Southwest Central Regional Economic Development Authority, Nevada's Small Business Development Center, Battleborn Growth Fund, Governor's Office of Economic Development, Regarding Sales, Audacity Institute, Carol Hines Consulting, and Startup NV. Together, these people have raised $11,500. This helps us provide the awards today. There has been a committee of people that have worked tirelessly on this event. There are 3 people I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge. The first is Patty Herzog with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. She has been a mainstay in starting this vision and following through to make sure it happens. She had 2 people who assisted her, Maggie Saling, Startup NV, and Carol Hines with Carol Hines Consulting. Together, these people led the charge, and we're grateful that this has continued. Now, before we begin, we should acknowledge some housekeeping items. Here locally, Northeastern Nevada Regional Development Authority has provided treats. They are located in the front of the room. Feel free today to go up and enjoy them, but we need to acknowledge that they provided these treats. And I know at Western Nevada College, there also are treats, and I know Lynn has provided those. Now, as far as other housekeeping items, for those of us here in Elko, down the hall on your left are bathrooms and a water fountain. For those of you who are at home or in your offices, I hope you know where the bathroom is located. Let's begin by asking Director Brown, which I will introduce now, to welcome us. Michael Brown is the Executive Director of the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development. He previously served as the Department of Business and Industry, and prior to that, he had 2 roles with Barrick Gold, both as the Vice President of U.S. Public Affairs and also as President of the organization. He is very well known within the state. Please welcome Director Brown.
I want to welcome everyone on behalf of the Governor's Office of Economic Development and on behalf of Governor Sisolak to the Rural Pitch Day. I want to thank our sponsors, Nevada Gold Mines. I was once president of Barrick Gold Mining, and so I appreciate that my friends have come forward to help sponsor this. Startup Nevada, the Northern Nevada Regional Development Authority, Northern Nevada Development Authority, the Battleborn Growth Escalator Fund, RE Sales, the Southwestern Central Regional Economic Development Authority, Carol Hines Consulting, NV Energy, SBDC Nevada, and the Audacity Fund for making today possible. And also for Maggie Saling and the team at GOAD, Patty Herzog and her team that have made all of this possible. We're in the 2nd year of a pandemic, and pandemics in America live outside of our collective memory. My grandmother lived through the 1918 pandemic. I have her yearbooks from her high school and college years, and I can see in there the effect that the pandemic had over time in those yearbooks. We live here in the 21st century where we had our our parents had cured polio. We, as baby boomers, had lived through cures for measles and other infectious diseases. And then our children were further inoculated against others. And so when the pandemic hits in 2020, it is almost like a reversal of the march of progress that we thought was in front of us. We thought we were invincible to these things. And in some respects, it's like at the start of the 20th century, in the great industrial revolution, when they thought that everything was marching forward, and suddenly this great unsinkable ship, the Titanic, it sinks. And we realize maybe we haven't made as much progress as we thought. But it is a temporary setback. Evidence shows that after each pandemic that has occurred for centuries, there's a great amount of innovation and entrepreneurship that occurs in the economy. If you think back to 1918 and you realize that when that pandemic concluded, it was the start of the Roaring 20s, a period of incredible growth and prosperity in America, a period of great innovation in America, a period of great expansion of globalism, lots of the League of Nations, lots of very positive things occurred in the 1920s as we came out of the Great War and we came out of the effects of the pandemic. There's a former Wall Street Journal reporter, Morgan Housel, and he says, the biggest innovations rarely occur when everyone is happy or safe, when the future looks bright. Innovations happen when people are a little panicked, a little worried, and when the consequences of not acting quickly are too painful to bear. We're seeing that in Nevada today. Innovation, we have companies coming to the state. They're attracted to our state because of our Pacific time zone location, our access to the Pacific Rim, and the young entrepreneurial folks that we have living here. It's still a frontier state where you can start new ideas and take them forward, particularly in rural Nevada. And as I look at our state, I realize that our best days, as Governor Sandoval used to say, are ahead of us. Governor Sisolak is very focused on getting things done. That's why my office is working very closely with the economic development agencies and groups like SBDC, to accelerate the pace of change in Nevada and to make it positive for the state and to create these new opportunities. And so Rural Pitch Day is an opportunity for us to unite as a larger state and hear the kind of innovations and the kind of potential game-changing projects that are on our horizon. Now, if you notice behind me, you see an abstract painting, but you also see a group of folks from the 2012 Olympics. And I'm going to turn around here and I'm going to point to one of them. So this woman right there, young woman, Susan Francia, is a dear friend of mine. In Washington, D.C., I took up rowing as a sport. It's a small sport. I ended up helping sponsor the women's Olympic team to London, then to Rio, then to Tokyo. And Susan and I have just become really good friends. In fact, when Governor Sisolak offered me this job, I called her and said, should I take it? And she says, coach wants to move you up, you do what the coach says. So I took the job. Susan's mother is a woman named Katie Carrico. Katie Carrico's been in the news lately. She is the inventor of the messenger RNA that made the vaccine possible. She Hungarian. She fled the communists with her 2-year-old daughter, where they had sewed $1,000 of $1,000 into Susan's teddy bear. And they came over to the United States in 1986, where they thought that she had an opportunity to teach at Penn. And she got there and discovered that maybe there'd been a little confusion in the Hungarian English translation, and the job she thought she had really wasn't there. But she saw the opportunities and the vistas of America's freedom, and the family decided to stay. She found a junior research position at Penn State University, or Penn University, University of Pennsylvania. And her daughter then later went to college there. She spent 20 years researching RNA. She never received a federal grant. She never received an award more than $100,000 for her research. In fact, she had a lot of trouble attracting people to her research, to the point that at one point, the University of Pennsylvania, in a move I'm sure they regret today, actually demoted her and moved her to a little office on the side. She persevered, and she believed that she could change the future. And in rowing, you actually face backwards. You row facing against where you're going. You don't see where you're going. And Susan uses that metaphor as what her mother's research was. She wasn't sure where she was going, but she continued to row towards that goal. Spent 20 years at it. Pandemic hits, some entrepreneurial executives at Moderna and Pfizer looking around for what they're going to do. They find her research. She's on the last Lufthansa flight out of Europe in 2020, in January 2020, because she'd been over in Hungary doing some more research. She then ends up really being pivotal to the creation of the vaccine. And so I tell that story because, one, it's very personal to me. Two, there's a lot of myths about the vaccine out there. And I just want people to understand that, that vaccine was created by a friend of mine. And she told me all about how it was going to unroll in October of 20. And then in January, it started. And so as you pursue your goals and your pitches and your innovations, I just want you to remember Katie, because this is someone who changed the world with what she was trying to do. And so, I really appreciate all of you participating today. It's an honor to be in front of you. I was a corporate guy. I'm a guy who made trains run. I'm not very good at inventing trains. I suspect that many of you are. And I wish you the best of success in your endeavors and in today's venture, and appreciate all of you participating. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to our hosts, and I wish you a successful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next event will be the keynote from Dr. Vincent Solis.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Vince Solis, and I'm the proud president at Western Nevada College. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm excited about spending a few minutes of your time today talking about what it takes to lead and some of the skills that you're going to need to be a successful entrepreneur. Running a small college is a lot like running a small business. We deal with lots of the same challenges, lots of the same skills that are needed to be successful. And today's presentation is not going to be an exhaustive list of all the things that you need to be a successful entrepreneur, but I've put together some of the things that I think you need to understand and know and develop as skill sets to be a better business leader, to be a better leader in your organization, and ultimately to be a better business person. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. And again, these are some of the skills, attributes, and qualities that you'll need to be a successful business leader and entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And today's presentation is going to be about things every entrepreneur should know. Keep in mind, this will not be an exhaustive list. There's a lot of things that go into being a really successful entrepreneur, but these are some of the primary things that every individual should know as they prepare to take on the world of business and some of the things that are happening in that world. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is an individual who creates a new business, someone that's innovative. It's someone who also bears all of the risks in the venture of business, but it's also someone who is going to participate in all of the rewards. That's why business and being an entrepreneur is so appealing, but also has its perils. The process of setting up a business is known as entrepreneurship. These are things that we all work through as we're developing businesses. But an entrepreneur is someone that's commonly seen as an innovator, a source of new ideas, goods, services, and businesses or procedures. Keep in mind, a lot of large corporations, conglomerates started with a great idea, an individual who had the passion to do it, and the desire to move forward with working towards their goals. So an entrepreneur is, again, someone who is going to participate in all the risks that come from creating a business, but also all of the rewards. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the environment and the space that businesses and entrepreneurs work in. One of them is understanding that things, especially technology, change the marketplace very rapidly. It wasn't that long ago that we didn't have smartphones. Smartphones, particularly the iPhone, first came into existence in 2007. And since then, things have continued to evolve related to the use of our technology. We've got social media. We do a lot of communications through emojis and or images. We do a lot of contacting our customers in different ways than we did just 10 years ago. So one of the things that good entrepreneurs do is understand that they operate in a rapidly changing environment. Keep in mind, Tesla, we hadn't heard of electric cars for a long time. And in 2008, first Tesla hit the market. Now electric vehicles are everywhere. Smart speakers continue to dominate how we produce a lot of the interactions that we have in the home. We've got Apple Watches that monitor everything from our health to our steps each day. They send us text messages. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. What's important to understand is that the world and technology shape our business plans, and it happens very, very quickly. So all good entrepreneurs understand that things like TikTok, which just started, can revolutionize how you message to your customers. The other thing is that technology does, as great a tool as it is for the purposes of communication, it's extremely disruptive. And let's think about some businesses that have been disruptive through the use of technology. Right now, a Bitcoin, for example, is going for just north of $60,000. The first Bitcoins 10 years ago, roughly, were used to purchase 2 pizzas. There were 10,000 Bitcoins that were used to purchase 2 pizzas. Those 10,000 Bitcoins now would be worth over $60 million. The world continues to change. The technologies continue to disrupt. But let's think about some things. Banks, for example, don't like peer-to-peer lending. The fastest growing banking institution is Society One. They have no buildings, no employees. They work through peer-to-peer lending. Taxis don't like Ubers. Hotels don't like Airbnbs. Blockbusters and cinemas didn't like and don't like Netflix. Blockbuster, there's one Blockbuster left. We all remember the days on a Friday night going to rent videos so that we could spend the weekend watching movies. And now all of those things have gone by the wayside. And this is why it's so important for you to keep up with what's happening with the disruptions, okay? It's really important. It's not just about communication and what's happening in social media. It's you need to understand as an entrepreneur, what are the things that are specifically impacting your business and how you're responding to those changes, because there is always a competitor that is looking to disrupt your business model by doing it quicker, faster, cheaper, more efficiently. So you need to be constantly monitoring the changes that are happening in the disruptive space of change and technology. And there's also a couple of trends that are impacting what's happening in the world of work right now. We all understand that it is difficult to hire team members at this point in time. There are a couple of movements that are taking place that I think you should be aware of. The concept of lying flat, I encourage you to look this up a little bit further. This is essentially a movement that began on social media in China. And this is where the employee essentially decided to just lie down because the individual was so exhausted from working long days throughout a consistent period of time each week. That has caught movement throughout the world on social media. One of the things that social media allows is for the quick exchange of communication on a global scale. I encourage you, as I said, to understand this movement because it goes to the point of how employees and team members are feeling some of the disruptions and how they're not happy with the world of work. If you look at the things that Americans, as prosperous as we are as a country, one of the things that is telling in our data is that we're also one of the unhappiest places. Americans have a lot of angst, and one of the key drivers about that is their jobs. A lot of people work in jobs that they don't enjoy doing and therefore create some of these issues. The other item that's going on right now that I encourage all entrepreneurs and business owners to kind of understand is what's happening with the Great Resignation of 21. What are some of the things that are working against you as it relates to talent acquisition, talent retention, and how you can keep the people that help you reach your goals? Because we all do this in the world of business as a team. So doing this in a manner and understanding where the pain points are for keeping retention, keeping talent is really important. So understanding the kinds of trends that are happening in the world of business is also extremely important as we work through the things that impact our business models. There's a couple of other things that successful entrepreneurs understand, and one of these is finance. there are certain skills that you need to have as individuals, as owners, as entrepreneurs. And one of them is you have to be a pretty good expert or someone who understands finances a great deal. At the end of the day, the goal for the vast majority of enterprise is to make a profit. So understanding profit margins, understanding supply chains, understanding the things that drive that bottom line are really important. Some things that you can do is find an expert that can help you with the finance piece, particularly if you're not an expert in finance, but you have other ideas like creativity and you've got a business model that's working. At some point, you're going to need to find someone that can help you understand the finance in deeper, more comprehensive manners. The other thing is this, as you're working through your finances, because this is one of the things that a lot of small businesses struggle with, is schedule time out of your week to work specifically on your finances. Focus on your cash flow as much or as more than profit, because there's a lot of things that happen in small business like billing, and billing can take 90 to 180 days. How does that impact your bottom line? So keep an eye on what's happening with your finances. Make sure that you invest weekly allotments of schedules so that you can have some time spent with understanding how finances are happening. This is one of the most essential skills that you will need as an entrepreneur and someone that is in the world of business. But this, if there was one skill that you need to have amongst these, this is one of the one that's really, really important. You also need to understand how credit impacts you and your business. And then also what's going on with the kinds of funds that are available right now. There's a lot of low interest funds that are available for small businesses. They're very attractive, but you need to know how to borrow responsibly. All of these things fit in one cadre, one model that you need to understand at a very deep level if you're going to be really successful in the world of business. The other thing that really successful entrepreneurs know how to do is they understand how to brand their market or their idea. They know how to reach out to the people that they are looking for as customers. They know their brand. They know how to be authentic. They know how to stand out in a very complicated space. Keep in mind that social media and marketing is really great because it has now become accessible to the masses. The problem or the challenge that comes with that is that you have to figure out ways that make your products or your services stand out. You also have to monitor as you're managing your brand that someone can look at your idea on social media and then replicate it. So you also need to understand things like copyright laws, intellectual property, and things that can impact your business. The other thing on branding that you really need to understand is how to tell a compelling story about why your goods or services are the preferred choice. What makes you as a business the obvious choice? Get your story out there, be authentic, understand how social media works. If this is one of those items that you need help with, it's the same with finance. Find an expert or find someone who's very comfortable in the space of imagery, video production, social media, and how you can tell a compelling narrative about the business that you have, the goods and services that you're offering, and why you should be, or your business should be, the business of choice for customers. It's really important to understand branding and how that all goes into your logo, your marketing, your perceived value with the customer, how you design your overall strategy, and also, more importantly, the trust that people have in your brand and your name as a business. It's really important that you understand this whole concept. And again, if you're not an expert in this area, find someone that can help guide the path for your business as it relates to branding of your goods and services. Another thing that we encourage small business owners or entrepreneurs to think about is before launching their venture, because many ventures will fail and we want to mitigate the risk of failure. We want to make sure that we minimize the possibility of anybody failing in the world of business. One of the things that we recommend is that you start in sales. Starting out in sales is a really great platform by which to launch the skill sets that you will need to be a successful entrepreneur. There's a couple of things that comes with being in sales. One is that you learn to be tenacious about seeking what you are after as a goal. You've got a set goal that you need to make a certain amount of sales per week or per month or per year. And it teaches you this constant tenacity to go after those skill sets that will help you be successful in reaching your goals. The other thing about starting in sales is that it is a great platform for you to network with other individuals so that you can build your name in a particular field. Networking is extremely important to making the right connections at the right time. It's all about relationships in many instances when it comes to the world of business. So networking is something that naturally develops when you're in sales. The other thing that sales does is it teaches you to be persuasive. You can paint a narrative and you can tell a compelling story about a good, a service, or a product that you're working on. The other thing that it does is it allows you to set realistic goals and how to achieve those goals. You'll also learn, really important, what the market wants. You'll understand patterns in what the markets are doing as you watch your sales increase. So one thing that I encourage small business owners to understand, or at least start out in, is start in sales. Being a salesman is a great way to launch the kinds of skill set that you're going to need for the purposes of being a great entrepreneur. The other thing is it'll help you be a better people person. At the end of the day, relationships matter, especially in the world of business. And you want to make sure that you hone that skill set that allows you to develop really great relationships with the people that can help make your goals happen for your business. We've talked a little bit about this, but I think what's also important to understand is that technology is not just changing the world. Technology also drives so much of what we do. For example, economists right now predict that over the next 3 decades, a big percentage, 30% of the economy, will be driven by what happens in blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is a nebulous concept for a lot of people, but it's one of the many, many things that are happening in the space that will change how we do business. And it's important for business owners to understand how technology can shape their future, because there are technological advances that can happen that can make your business model obsolete very quickly. So some of the things that you need to be aware of that technology can do as a competitor is that if you're not keeping up with it, you can fall behind or you can become irrelevant. Think of Blockbuster and Netflix. Think of things like Sears and Amazon. There was a time when many of us growing up would look to the Sears catalog and we could find everything that was in there. At some point, somebody says, we can take that catalog, put it online and sell everything. And now Sears is, for the most part, something of the past, and Amazon is something in the future. Now, obviously, those are large-scale examples, but your businesses can be disrupted by what's happening in the world of technology. So it's important for all entrepreneurs to keep a good pulse on what's happening in the tech space, because like I said, you can become irrelevant if technology disrupts your model, okay? The other thing that technology can do for you on the plus side is that it helps a small business compete on a much larger scale. We talked a little bit about this. You as a small business owner can now get your message out to the masses in ways that were incomprehensible just 20, 30 years ago. Social media has given you a powerful platform by which to tell your story and put your goods and services in the marketplace so that customers can access them. The other thing that it can do is you can sell your goods and services to almost anyone in the world. That's what technology has done. And you need to understand how broader markets can help you with the bottom line. The other thing is technology can help streamline your services and your operations and thus save you money. It also helps you understand the customer better. Keep in mind that there are lots of things that can be done with metrics and analytics that can guide your business operations so that you can reach specific targeted marketplaces. And the other thing is this, as I mentioned, this technology allows you to reach a very broad audience. You can take an idea as a result of technology and bring it to market much quicker now as you could in years past. Think of 3D printing. You can come up with a model of something or an idea very quickly. And these are tools that we just didn't have in the past. So it's really important for new entrepreneurs to understand how technology will help you be relevant, but at the same time can also be a huge competitor for your ideas. So it's really important to understand that things like technology, social media, things like the blockchain, contracts, the digital space, the digital economy can all have a huge impact on what you do as a small business. And it's important for any successful entrepreneur to understand technology and all the great things that come with it, but also the potential disruptions that can come to your business as a result of what's happening in the technological space. Now, we talked a little bit about this, but I want to stress that networking is one of those key elements that will help you as a business person really develop the kinds of relationships that you'll need to be successful in delivering all the things that your business is offering. And there's some things that you can do to help broaden that network. Remember, the more relationships you have, the bigger the network, the larger the reach, the more impact you can have in your business. So think about attending things like networking events. There are specific industry kinds of gatherings that you can go to, learn from others. You can build relationships. Remember, there's no need in reinventing the wheel if someone has already figured out the solution to a problem you may be facing. And the best way to do that is to have relationships that you can call on to help guide you through some of these things. I think it's really important for people to learn to socialize in different settings, particularly off hours. And I know that we all have a lot of time constraints with family and everything that's going on in our individual lives unrelated to the world of work. But there are a lot of things that happen in terms of business dealings that happen off hours. You can have events on the weekend. You can go to dinners. You can connect with people in lots of different settings that don't necessarily have to be related to what's happening with work. But it's really important that you have as many opportunities to build relationships and become a true people person to help network to a much larger audience. There's also a couple of skills within networking that I think every entrepreneur needs to have. One is learn to listen to people that have already done it, that have had previous experience, that can be helpful guides. The other thing is this: learn to have your own conversational icebreakers. You got to be really good at creating an approach that will allow you to connect with anyone. You got to be able to talk about a lot of different things. You got to be able to be approachable. You have to be at the core a people person to understand what's going on with these areas. The other thing is this: really important. One of the things that I like to do before I go to an event, I know who the key players are going to be, and I will take the time to do homework on those individuals. What have they done? Where did they go to school? What is going on in the world of business? What are some of the challenges that they're dealing with? Remember, technology allows us to monitor a lot of the things that are happening in the space. Do your homework before you go to some of these events, and you'll have a great time connecting to individuals that can help you be successful. So networking is one of these skills that all entrepreneurs need to have, because you're not in most instances not going to do the work that you're doing alone. You're going to do it with people, and people are who you're trying to reach with your business model. And networking is a great way to enhance that overall approach to working with customers. The other thing is this, and I think that many of you who are already in the entrepreneurial world, or if you're managing a business, or if you're the leader in that area, you got to have a stellar Olympic level work ethic, because we all know that it is not going to be an 8 to 5 endeavor. Most of the time, small businesses, people that own their own shops, people that lead organizations have to have a tremendous work ethic, because there's just a lot of things that are swirling in the space. You know, I think one of the things that successful leaders and entrepreneurs do is require of themselves a strong work ethic. And the reason that this happens is because we know that it's going to take a lot of time to make things happen if we're going to be successful. You need to cultivate that self-discipline. You got to develop that professionalism that comes along with it, because that can be stressful. So you want to make sure that you understand that this is a part of the process when you're leading and or owning your own business. The other thing is this, is that when you've got this kind of built-in work ethic, you tend to develop a reputation amongst your peers, your customers, the people that you're serving, that you're going to get the job done, that your word is impeccable, that you will make things happen that you say you're going to make happen. So this whole concept of having a profound work ethic, if you're going to lead or if you're going to be the owner of a business, is really important. These are not going to happen in 3 to 5 hour work shifts, especially when you're getting started. That may change as the business grows and develops and you add more team members, but especially in the initial entry to the workplace and the world of business, you're going to have to put in a lot of hours, and it requires a dedicated, committed work ethic to help be successful. It'll ease up at some point, but in those initial stages, working hard and working the right way towards that goal, towards reaching what you're trying to complete with your objectives, will be a big part of being a successful entrepreneur. The other thing that's really important as a skill is you have to learn to communicate. I often tell people that what I do for a living is communicate. It's not just presentations, it's written communication, it's social media communication, it's the phone call, it's the personal meeting, it's the right kind of text messaging. You have to be really, really good at an overall communication strategy. And in order to do that, if you're going to convey powerful narratives and powerful stories about what you're trying to convey, it's really important for you to learn to listen. And listening is a skill. You have to learn to listen in order to understand where the customer or where your partners or where other members that you're networking with are coming from. It's really important to understand that. You should also know and look up some things related to how you can read body language, particularly in large groups. Who's having fun? Who are the people that you're going to connect with? How do you reach out to them? There's a lot of science behind reading body language, particularly in groups. I think you also need to know how to give a great presentation, know and understand that in a presentation like this, I typically don't use this many bullet points, but because I'm not there in person, I put them all on the slide. We have to adapt our styles because we are in a different world. This presentation is being recorded several days before the day of the actual event, which is this coming Saturday. So I put the information on here, but most of the times when you give a really great presentation, no one wants to look at a whole bunch of bullet points. So you have to be cognizant of these things, that everything from how you shake a hand to how you present is really important in your ability to not only convey a message, but how people perceive that message. And that's really important. You have to know how to write. You have to know how to speak. You got to know all the tools that you have at your disposal, like social media platforms. And then there's the lost art of having a great conversation. Be interested in the person that you're connecting to. Develop authentic relationships. This is one of these things, and that in this fast-paced, technologically driven world, we lose the ability, particularly coming out of a pandemic where we've been locked down for so long. Many times the skills needed to have a really great conversation go by the wayside. Keep in mind that we are the Twitter generation. We're the group that sends communications in 140 characters or less. We use Instagram and with a picture convey an entire story. So for many individuals, having the ability to have a really great conversation and strike a chord with the other person is becoming a lost art. So I encourage you to be a people person, connect with individuals, have the discussions, listen actively, be interested in the other person. And again, do some homework. Do some homework so you can have powerful speaking points that people can connect to when you're having these kinds of conversations. It's really important that communication is one of the key aspects of your role as leader and entrepreneur. And there's a lot of facets that come with being a great communicator. One of them, as I mentioned, is learning to listen to your audience, learning to listen to the people that you're working with, learning to listen to your team members, your partners. There's a lot of different spaces where you can learn by what you listen to. So it's really important that communication is a skill that you develop, just like all the others, to be successful at what you're doing as a business person. The other thing is something that doesn't need a lot of comprehensive overview, but it is important to focus on the customer. And the reason that I wanted to bring this in is customer service is more than providing a service. It's about providing an exceptional experience. We have to understand that the world that we live in, particularly with social media, there's this concept of the ideal life and the ideal experience. It used to be back in the day before social media that if someone had a bad customer service experience with any organization, there was the rule of 8. In general, 8 people would be informed of that bad customer service experience. In the world of social media and mass communication at everyone's fingertips, that rule of 8 has become the rule of infinity. There's no limit to how many people can hear a bad message about your organization. The only limits that exist are how many followers people have. If someone has 500 followers and they write a bad review about your business versus having 100 million followers, if you're one of these large social influencers, then that can get out to a lot of people very quickly. The other thing is there are platforms like Yelp that will review your business and people will write down the reviews. So it's really important for you to monitor these in the social media space and what's happening with your Google metrics as your search engines and your search optimization features are enhanced. But it's all about providing an exceptional customer service experience. If you get a bad review, don't take it as the end of the world. Take it as an opportunity to deliver really great customer service and fix anything that may need to be fixed. All businesses have pressure points. No business is perfect. There will be those moments where that service was not at the most optimum level, and we worked to fix that. It's important to be responsive. We have to know our product so that when we convey that message to our customers, we can do it in an authentic manner. You have to learn to listen to your customers, just like we do with our relationships. The other thing is this: learn to say thank you, particularly if you're selling services or goods. Follow up with a handwritten note, follow up with an email, put something on social media that thanks the customer for being a part of your business. Because at the end of the day, you're working towards making a profit, and the people that make this happen are your customers. So focus on the customer, but more than that, focus on an exceptional customer service experience in everything that you do, and your customer service feedback will be positive and will help your business grow. And with that said, I leave you with this short presentation. I wish you the best of luck with the rest of the day. My name is Dr. Vince Solis. As I mentioned in my introduction, I am the president at Western Nevada College. This is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Running a small college is like running a small business. We deal with a lot of the same issues. It's just important for us to come together to work and solve the problems that we all face. And we can do that by having really great relationships. So if there's ever any questions or anything that I can do from you, from our family here at Western to yours, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. You can call, you can send me an email, you can text me, and I'll be glad to reach out and connect and provide any feedback that I can on anything that you may have questions on. Thank you so much for being here today, being part of the program, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you about some of the skills that you'll need to be a really great entrepreneur and businessman. Best of luck with the rest of your day.
If you've ever been around Dr. Solis, he is an interesting individual. His background is being a high school dropout. From being a high school dropout to a college president. And his extensive education, leadership is mind-boggling. This is a man who simply would not quit, and he continued. He also is a very nice person. My claim to fame is he spoke at our graduation here at GBC in 2019, in May of 2019. People came up to me and they thought I was Dr. Solis. I like being connected that way.